Greetings and welcome to another episode of Cataloging the Culture. I'm your host, Dr. Karlos L. Marshall, and I proudly serve as the Director of Community Impact and Innovation here at the Dayton Metro Library. This monthly podcast highlights and features Black men working in, with, and across libraries across the nation to showcase their brilliance, the impact that they have, as well as their professional journeys and pathways into the profession. This morning, we are joined by none other than Robert Owens. Robert Owens is an innovative, creative, and highly insightful professional. Currently, he serves as the Community Impact and Innovation Manager here at the Dayton Metro Library. Robert obtained his BS degree in Special Education from the Central State University. He has taught for 15 years and worked with at-risk youth in education, corrections, treatment, and chemical dependency for 20 years. He also holds an M.Ed. in curriculum and instruction from Wright State University with over 25 years of experience as a trained facilitator. As a certified AMP life coach, Robert understands firsthand the powerful impact that outreach and student service programs can have on youth. Mr. Owens is one of the most sought-after personal development and inspirational speakers of the time. His messages are creative, relevant, and impactful. As a person who believes in holistic approaches to impacting youth and underserved communities, his work in the greater Dayton area mirrors his philosophy. Robert brings more than 2 decades of experience in the areas of innovation, transformational leadership, achievement, and professional development. How you feeling this morning, Brother Owens?
Man, that was a beautiful intro. I thank you so much. I had to think, is he talking about me? So I'm doing well, and I thank you, Dr. Marshall, for having me today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you bringing and joining us here and bringing your story to light this morning for an important and critical dialogue within our profession and beyond. So I just want to start off by cataloging your journey. Tell us about your upbringing and, growing up in the neighborhoods of where you hail from in Ohio.
Oh, okay, well, I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. I grew up there in a town called Rossford, and I fell in love with library through a very, very strange way. I wasn't always allowed to go places during that time. At that time, especially during the time of my introduction to the library, they had some things going on with Alton Coleman and Deborah Brown, if you remember those 2 individuals that were on the run at the time. They were also here in Dayton, Ohio, I believe, as well. And so I wasn't allowed to go far out of my mother's sight. And I would sneak off to the library and get in trouble a lot just because I wasn't supposed to be going anywhere. And it started to develop my love for library, and that transcended into always sneaking off. While most kids probably said they were going places and probably were doing other things, I was sneaking off to the library. And so that's where my love came from.
Absolutely. No, appreciate you, speaking on that background and just how you got into a love of libraries and just kind of an unconventional path and experience there. But also talk about, you would grow up and see people and students, maybe even some of your peers, doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And then that led really to your professional journey of working with, at-promise youth that might have needed a little bit of love, guidance, and TLC around the edges. So just talk about your work with youth and young adults in that space.
I think it's mirrored a lot heavily during the TED Talk I gave in 2016. It was called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Failure. And I experienced a lot with the juveniles that I worked with. I came from a similar background. And what I've always maintained is if there was an opportunity for me to run into someone that was impactful, that caused me to change my way of thinking, then it has to be an opportunity for them. And what I started to understand was I could not hope for them to run into that person to be that impact of change. I had to become that person, become the message that I wanted to send, and started to grow myself more so that I could be that person for the youth that I worked with. in juvenile corrections and detention, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. Love that. Just that message has become the change that you want to see. And also, in addition to working in that corrections environment, chemical dependency, working with At Promise Youth, you're also well known within this region, in the state, in the nation, and beyond, as well as working with your wife, the internationally renowned poet and creative Sierra Leone. Yes. Huge shout out to her. And just talk about your creative and artistic and cultural endeavors, how you got engaged with that.
I think it started when Sierra was a poet, and I saw a need as she was getting called to come out on events and to perform, that there was a need that people really did not put a specific emphasis on poetry as being important, an important contributor to the art, traditional arts itself. And the first thing was the payment. A lot of people didn't like to pay poets. They wanted to pay them with handshakes and thank yous. And, you know, what we wanted to establish and what I wanted to establish was that, you know, my kids don't eat thank yous and handshakes. They like SpongeBob snacks, right? You know what I mean? So we have to find a way to, if you want this person to come out and be impactful for you at your event, you have to give them what they're worth. You know, you have to put something into them. You can't, you know, Napoleon Hill said it best, nobody can get something for nothing. That doesn't exist. You know what I mean? And so seeing that need where a lot of artists in certain genres were feeling this crunch at the time, our company emerged in the forefront to be an off-Broadway theatrical review, one of the few off-Broadway theatrical reviews that are done in the Midwest, as usually off-Broadway things are done in New York. We were one of the ones that was deemed a legitimate off-Broadway review, but here in the Midwest, because of that impact and because of everything we've done, we were known as the healing producers, just because you felt different, you understood differently when you came to our events. The Signature Poetic Medley Show is what that was, and it was able to become a vehicle not just for us to help support the community, but to put local artists on stages with artists from around the world, A-list celebrities. I mean, we've had some of the biggest names in the business, from Black Thought to Common to Lupe Fiasco, all right here in Dayton, Ohio. You know, and so it was an amazing turn of events to be able to impact the culture on such a broad view, and then be able to also do that locally for the people right here. There's a saying where you ought to be able to walk with kings, but never lose your common touch. And I think we were able to capture that in a bottle, you know.
Absolutely. And I remember attending some of those powerful poetic medleys when I was just in grad school at the time, and just seeing that Black cultural and artistic excellence on display, you know. So thank you all for, you know, just showing us what's possible. And I also know that y'all also had the opportunity to work with the Dayton Metro Library and put on various different creative and cultural events, maybe at a time where the library didn't have the capacity and or the expertise to produce such, and that was long before you or I were even employees of the Dayton Metro Library. Probably weren't even thinking about that as a potential halfway at the time. So, you know, how did some of that come about, and what were some of the things that y'all were able to put forward with the library in collaboration and partnership?
I think what we were able to do was foster a synergistic connection to the Dayton community through the library by expanding the library's vision on what they saw, especially the impact the library has in West Dayton. I think we were instrumental as catalysts in being able to shape what programming coming out of an organization like this look like, and how innovative could it be even at that time, because what we do know about certain areas in Dayton, sometimes they don't always need hope. They need inspiration. See, inspiration is the verb that's going to motivate you to get up and do something. Hope brings about the awareness that we need to do something. But I think we were more of the catalyst for inspiration and building the now, I mean, over a just bustling art scene that we have here that was spawned from the Signature and from doing programming like with the organization, because it also put a spotlight on us, on that we were not just one-dimensional. We weren't just in the theater. We also have some very impactful educational, transformational programming, that not only speaks to the arts, but it speaks to the person in the community as well.
Absolutely, man. Just love that, and seeing that impact. I know that then opened pathways and doors for you to come and be a public servant on behalf of the Dayton Metro Library in a formal manner. First coming over as the assistant branch manager for Southeast. So just talk about that process and what you were able to learn, being full-time as an assistant branch manager over there, working with the youth at Belmont High School in the community and beyond. Because what we know, both you and I coming from non-traditional libraries, it is a very different environment, but there is also something that people that come from outside and have experiences in other sectors have to contribute to the space as well.
Well, I think what happened was, coming from the private sector, I've been an entrepreneur probably for the last 20 years, and so to come back into the public sector, it was a bit scary for me, just because I didn't know if I still had the wherewithal to work in certain confines up under other people's visions and, what they want. And it's not to say that I think I'm better than them. It's just to say that I have become accustomed to doing things my way. You know what I mean? What I felt led to do in my purpose, And so the main thing with coming here, it was amazing when I got into the branch and I understood the type of leader that Jeffrey was. And it was amazing and very refreshing to see that he supported innovation. He supported change. He supported forward thinking. He supported transparency. There are a lot of things when you are in private sector that if you're going to attempt to come back into a public sector, that it's just certain things that have to be right, and it's not always about finances or money. There are other things that have to be right for you. And so to be able to come in and earn that type of trust, to be able to be impactful especially in the role that what I do now, to be in the community, and it started, and like you said, the kids at Belmont, let me back up a little, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it started with cultivating the relationship of servicing 300 black youths every day. And I know some people are like, oh, he's exaggerating, and I swear we've encouraged you to come. Some days there are more. My very first day in the branch, I think we clocked 424 kids in a branch. And so for me, coming from my background as juvenile detention and juvenile corrections, I'm good. That's just, it's almost like, how are we going to keep it safe, right? How are we going to get everybody to get what they want? And how do we just be okay here today? Because it's a lot. And if you're not a librarian, you're not trained to deal with those types of groups, those large groups of students, and they're at-promise students. And so it can be overwhelming. And I like to think that some of the things and strategies and tools that were implemented during my time there were a direct result of inspiration of what I suggested and the input there and the direction it took in order to start to turn it around now to where we are down in those activities that were leaving a little bit of bad taste in people's mouths, unfortunately. And people just have to understand that kids are still kids, right? Doesn't matter what the media sensationalizes. Kids are still kids, and understanding that, once again, being the message that I wanted to send, learning to connect with those children, learning to understand and gain their trust was amazing, but it's also key, building those rapports. And so also being able not just to impact the staff, impacting those kids, which impacted the community. And like I said, it's nothing I would wake up to intentionally do. I just wanted to go out and just be the best representation of me and of the library for the public, and that's what it turned into. And like I said, in my current role now, gaining even more trust and responsibility to create organizational change and increase organizational capacity, I think is amazing, especially in the times that we're in today. I think it speaks volumes of the leadership here at Dayton Metro Library and where they place their emphasis in community and what they respect and what they believe in by making sure we are pushing 3,000 to 4,000 innovative, impactful, and transformational programming, daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And I just think it is a testament to that leadership.
Absolutely. That's a perfect segue, and I want to continue to stay on that page there as we catalog your journey and story. Just talk about the transition coming from Southeast Assistant Branch Manager, now being in this role with the Community Impact and Innovation Department, and that we did see a gap specifically around Black literature, Black boys and young Black men and teens, and how we can also leverage Black community leaders and men in the community. And when you came on board, we started to go to work very quickly in creating the initiative what everybody now knows as the Reading Railroad. So just talk to us about that maturation and development project, some of the key pillars of that initiative, and what we hope some of the outcomes will be.
Well, with Reading Railroad, like I said, we kind of hit the transition. Let me speak to that part first. Kind of hit the ground running when I came in. Was drinking from the hose, so to speak. But it was an amazing time. It had been a long time since I felt that type of invigoration and passion in doing a job. Right? I'm not doing this for myself. So it was for doing a job, and then. That's what they say, when you have fun, right, you'll never work a day in your life. And, since that day, I haven't felt like work at all. When I come here, this is just a continued extension of what I was already doing, my company already stands for and believes in. And so to be here today and to be a catalyst and a foundational inspiration for the change and implementation of Reading Railroad, which supports young Black boys and the young Black men and their support systems through increasing literacy and providing literacy opportunities through innovative and transformational programming from Reading Railroad. I think it speaks volumes of what we're moving towards with Reading Railroad. Like I said, being able to impact this community on so many levels right now in this time is exactly what people need. You still need those anchor programs that let people know that someone's still in your corner, someone is still here for you. I know right now we're in times where it's not always the best. Sometimes you can't wake up and feel 100%, and we want you to be able to know that even on those days, we are here for you, and we have resources here for you to support you in whatever you need. I always like to say, I always get up every day and do it for the people that never felt like they were going to be something, because I too came from that, right? From that type of background. And so when you don't feel like you're enough, sometimes you don't do enough. And I want anybody to know that the library is a place where you can always come and feel welcome and be enough, because you are exposed to so many books to fill you with so many things to make you enough if you don't feel like that. So I get up and I have the most fun, because I'm like, where else could I come work that offers so many things? Got banned books, right? Where can I go and actually promote something banned, right? Like, that is the coolest thing. Like, we want to talk about outlaw. I think I'm a library outlaw because I can promote books make books on all topics, right? And you can find your world, your niche, your topic right here, especially as a young Black man. This is very important to be able to come and start to define who you want to become and what you want to become. And you can find it all right here in a book.
Thank you for providing that contextual information about why Reading Railroad is so important and critical. If you could speak to some of the specific initiatives that come from that, whether it's the Black Men 250 Reading Challenge, Hometown Heroes, the student mental health symposium, Flowers for Fathers, just all the various different things. Black Child Book Fair.
Look! I said, so we'll start with the student mental health symposium that's coming up. That's November 13th, as a matter of fact. We also have the Black Child Book Fair coming up October 18th, which is in about 2.5 weeks from now. Those are some of our pillar long-term programs with partnerships from entities like the Black Child Book Fair. That is a partnership with the actual tour. That's what it's named. The company itself named it after the tour, but that is a company out of Chicago that's been doing this for over 15 years, and they're always looking for opportunities to impact and give an opportunity for our community to be impacted by offering books that normally our kids would not be exposed to. You know what I mean? And so I think it speaks to what we need to do. While if like what they always just say, if the mountain can't go to Muhammad, we got to find a way to bring them, whatever that saying was that they do. Well, hopefully we're providing the mountain and Muhammad to get together and make those opportunities for impact. And so we're just making sure that access and barriers are removed for young black boys to grow and to express themselves and to have a safe space and to feel free. And those are some of the tenets that Reading Railroad stands by in creating a brotherhood. And I think that there's an underlying piece in all of this, which is mental health. Which is so important. The symposium this year, we'll be talking about suicide education, prevention, and awareness. And I think it is such a very, very timely message, as unfortunately we have seen a drastic increase in teen suicides just over the last 6 months. Even in Dayton, Ohio, to speak to that, specifically targeted the West Side in 2022, Dayton Children's Hospital experienced a large increase of adolescents in the emergency room with suicide attempts, and most of them identified as young black children from the West Side of Dayton. With that increase, with also a specificity of a slight rise with female black women, young black women as well. And so we are making sure we are trying to stay proactive and not reactive with our community programming. And so we're talking about things like Flowers for Fathers by being proactive. You're talking about, unfortunately, the statistics say that most black men will only receive flowers at their funeral. And we want to change that. We want to make sure that as a father or a father figure in your community, that you get your flowers now. You are a local community hero. You have the opportunity to be appreciated now. We don't want your family to wait till it's too late to appreciate you. And it's not always an easy thing to do for people. And so we are very proud and we are very grateful to provide that opportunity to give someone the opportunity to say thank you when it's not always, it's not always easy to do. And we also do that with the hometown heroes. When you spoke of leveraging black men in the community, that's what we get them to do. We know you may not have the time to come in and read like we do with our Reading Railroad conductors in the 250 Black Men Challenge, where they sign up to come in and read at our story times. But you still have an opportunity to come in and impact during a story time, a selected one that's crafted and curated especially for you. And these are businessmen, these are millionaires in the community, these are doctors, these are lawyers, these are prominent people that are still very, very active in their community, and they come and give back their time here. And I think that's very important for the young black kids to be able to see representation of themselves, not only in the books, but in the physical, in the reality stature of in their community as well.
Absolutely. Huge shout out and thank you to all the black men that are helping support us with the 250 Black Men Read Challenge and Hometown Heroes. We sincerely appreciate that. But I also wanted to circle back to something that you said earlier at the onset of this interview, just in terms of what your upbringing was like and how your mother didn't want you to go to the library. Man. So now being an employee at the library, right. Like what does she think about that?
I haven't asked her, but I hear tell that she brags a lot about it. You know what I mean? And she always still says, I don't know exactly what you do. I said, just know that I'm doing a lot of great work that I was called to do on purpose. I'm grateful for it, and I'm glad I continue to develop the self-discipline to do it every day. You know what I'm saying? My mom, like I said, she would get it, but she still wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? Like I said, so you help people. You've been doing that, right? Yeah, but it's a little different how I do it now.
Absolutely, and you've also talked about. Reading Railroad, how we're trying to create those positive examples for our young folks in the community, but also talk about in this professional arena, whether it's libraries or just in general, who's been some of those critical role models and mentor figures for you in your personal and professional journey?
This is where I think all my questions usually, people are, you have an answer for everything. I think this is the one where I have had mentors in my life, and if this was a podcast about my upbringing, we would delve into that a little deeper. But those mentors were few and far in between. And they were not always male mentors. One mentor that sticks out a lot is one of the first people to ever believe in me and give me courage in my academic life. And that was Dr. Exie Ashburn at the Central State University. She taught education there for a number of years. She's since passed and became an ancestor. But she was one of the first people to believe that I had a first-rate mind to become an educator, to become a change agent in education, not just another person that would join the ranks of teaching. And I've always tried to measure up to that, And we would talk all the time, And like I said, she was like 80, so she would always talk to me like my mother and my grandmother at the same time, And so that was a main mentor. You also have Dr. Sam Collier, who was another mentor of mine in education, who also impacted and changed my life immensely by the cognitive approach to not just education and academia and teaching black students, but to life, to teaching me as well, to growing as well. And then, my personal development, my mentors, Bob Proctor and Dr. Yana Van Zant, my godmother, have had an amazing effect and profound change on my life. So it affects how I see the world, how I see people, and how I approach this job specifically every day by showing up to be the highest representation of self every day. And that's not always easy, all right? But it is my duty when I get out of the bed in the morning, my responsibility even to be the highest representation and represent the highest vibration of frequency of love, kindness, and gratitude when I come into the library, because that's what they need here,
Absolutely. Thank you for, just uplifting those people in your story in general, but definitely the ancestors. And, we certainly uplift and, stand on the shoulders of black women within the library profession and beyond. So turning the page and beginning to close the chapter on this podcast interview, just talk about some of the challenges and opportunities you see for black men in libraries, and what are some of the strategies that libraries can take to help continue to diversify the profession and get more black men involved and engaged?
I think from my perspective, as far as we'll start with the challenges. Being understood. A lot of times, we have a problem with being seen. We don't feel seen. I think I feel seen, but I don't think you understand what you're seeing. And so the understanding and translating into an understanding is what I would want people to start to take away. Whatever your personal barriers are of what you think a black man is or represents, it's not necessarily true. And so when you see someone operating in the confines of library, we tend to make generalized conceptions, or should I say misconceptions, of people. And I think if we're able to communicate more, because also it's a very introverted profession, right? And me being not an introvert, there's this fine line every day of just making sure I'm not being offensive, or I don't want to come off challenging, or I don't want to do these things. And as a large black man, period, in my life, I've had to deal with those things, those connotations. And I've even explained to my children, I never said that the things that I have to do to be successful as a black man in the world, period, is fair. But you will need to do some of them, right? And I don't never go back and forth with, that's not fair, and I'm well aware of that. But until I can get to you and show you that we're more alike than we are separate, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? That's going to continue to push us further apart. I'm a solutionary, right? I'm always looking for solutions. I'm never looking for problems. I'm looking for the solution. And sometimes that's you can't find it because of those gaps and those barriers that happen when black men that are not traditionally from library come into library. You know what I mean? And I just like to think that I'm taking the opportunity on the flip side, being here 3 years in the library and being a non-traditional, that I'm changing some of those, saying what people think or how they approach. Even with a reading railroad, some children from other cultures' first experience with a black man was me reading to them at the story time, or a black man reading to them at the story time. Those conversations are so small, but they are so profound in changing the attitude of how people are seen in the world, and it starts in the library. I just think we need to continue to make sure we have an avenue for those conversations, and I'm just very grateful to be the person that can start to pave some of those avenues and be a part of that whole change and switch up.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. As we close this chapter, is there anything else you would like to add?
I think I would just like to add that in this world, the takeaway I would give you is know that you're enough, and know that no matter what, you are not other people's opinion of you. You do not have to become your past mistakes. There is always an opportunity to get better, to be better, to do better the very next day. Learn not to take so many things to heart where it hurts you. Take them to mind where you can use them as lessons, not losses. And that's the way you will continue to win, not just in library, but win in life. Absolutely. And how can people continue to follow your work and your journey? Hey, you already know. Follow me at DaytonMetroLibrary.org. Reading Railroad. We're on Biblio as well. We're on social media. You can follow us there. My name is Robert Owens, and I am the Community Impact Innovation Manager. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. Again, this is another episode of Cataloging the Culture, sharing powerful narratives as we seek to uplift and bring voice and visibility to black men in libraries, such as Brother Robert Owens here. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Marshall. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Until next time.